What's going on? What's going on, family? This is Al, Elegant Body Magic Get On Boss podcast, man. How you guys been doing? This is something new that I'm doing. I don't think anybody else is doing it, but I'm about to start doing something called video rehashes. So this is the video rehash of my podcast. So basically, I see that some people like the video, even though it may not have that many views or whatever, but some people like the videos, and then some people really like the audio. A lot of people listen to the audio. So this is just a rehash of my whole podcast up until this date. So I'll be shooting videos to rehash the podcast. So let's start it at podcast 1. It'll be a link in the description. Just look down there. It'll be a link in the description to podcast 1. And so basically my first podcast, man, taking you guys with me, man. I'm going to Whole Foods, try to keep it healthy. So Beamer talks, So, so basically, my first podcast was basically like, who this podcast is for and who it's not for, and, yeah, man. So again, you guys listen to the podcast, hashtag Elegant Body Magic, hashtag Get On Boss podcast, hashtag, the new hashtag is going to be, boss video, Get On Boss video rehash or something like that. I'll come up with a hashtag. But basically the podcast is for people who want to turn up, man. That's what the podcast is for. So I'm doing a rehash of my very first podcast. It'll be a link in the description for that podcast as well on Anchor and Google Podcasts and iTunes and all that. So the podcast is only for people who trying to turn up, man. This is just a video rehash of my podcast. The podcast is for people who want to turn up, okay? So what do I mean by that? So again, the podcast is for people who look average right now, and they want to look great, man. They want to be in the best shape of their life. Like they may look good themselves. Like you may look good yourself. And everybody telling you look good and all that, but you know the truth. You like, man, I don't look that fucking good. I go to Instagram, I look at pictures. I see people who really on top of their shit. I really don't look that good yet. You notice internally, or you thinking to yourself, I can look better than this though. Like my podcast is for people who trying to be intimidating, man. Who trying to shut shit down. For whatever reason that is. Whatever reason you have. I know what my reason is. Well, I go hard. It's a very strong reason, And so you got to have a reason why, man. So that's what the podcast is for, man. Who is for and who is not for. And then I kind of explain my story a little bit in my first podcast, which I don't have a video for. So that's why I'm doing this now, just a rehash of my first podcast, so. But basically in there I was talking about, how I've been working out, man, and how I've been skinny and big like 3 or 4 times now. You know what I'm saying? So I know what the hell I'm doing, man. If I was able to be skinny and then turn my body back around like 3 times now, I know what I'm talking about. And so that's what that was about, man. Just my first podcast. It's basically who is for, who is not for. So it's for men and women, but basically it's for people who don't want to look average. So if you want to look average, this ain't for you, because I don't look average. So it's only for people who've been like skinny forever, or in the middle, as I call it. People who not fat, not skinny, they just look average as fuck. And they tired of looking like that. People want to be on boss, man. People out here got money. People out here got success in their job and shit. But when it comes to the gym, man, they clueless still. You know, people still clueless, man. It's a lot of fun you can be having in this gym. It's a lot of fun, man, that people missing out on. It's a lot of pain and stuff, but just listen to my podcast, man. The link is gonna be below. I put people on game, man. I show motherfuckers the real mindset that you gotta have to get this shit popping, man. You know, I know what I'm talking about, man, and I have trained other people, and the shit has worked for them. So yeah, man, it's just a rehash. You know, that's who it's for. That's who the podcast is for. It's, who it's not for. You know, I think this would be good for people to see a video rehash and nobody else is doing it. So, you know, we'll still be shooting a podcast. Hashtag Elegant Body Magic. Hashtag Get On Boss Podcast. And also I have something on my podcast called Boss Rap. This shit is hilarious, man. You know, I have me and I'm gonna have other people on the podcast basically, you know, rapping about their fit boss life, you know? Like how, you know, how life is for them right now, or how life will be once they get on boss. Damn, look at that bicep, man. Take a look at that shit. Take a look at that shit. Do I know what the fuck I'm talking about or what? God damn. Like, this shit is crazy, man. Like, I bend my arm sometimes, and every time I have on a t-shirt, I always gotta like fucking pull it down because my fucking biceps is so gangster, man. That's what I want for you. Because that shit feels amazing, man. You know, to really have it like that. And for it to be true, whether people like it or love it or whatever, it's truth. So yeah, man, so that's it. You know, just a quick rehash about my first video, my first podcast. It was labeled who this podcast is for and who is not. You know, I basically was saying the same thing, like how you got to think highly of yourself. You know, I mean, I should do a whole podcast about that, man. How people should think, you know, highly of themselves, man. I got a little bit of wrinkles. Shit, I just woke up, man, on my way to Whole Foods and then to the gym. But yeah, man, you got to think highly of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think supreme of yourself. You got to think that you're a supreme being, man. You know, you got to have the mindset like, I deserve to look this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I deserve to be a doctor, to be a dentist, to be a doctor, dentist, whatever you are. Okay, you got the clout. Okay, you was naturally born handsome. Your family come from money, or you got some money or whatever. But some people think that's good enough, man. And I'm not saying it's not good enough, because you still can get dudes, you still can get women or whatever. Like if you're a doctor, lawyer, naturally handsome, and your body ain't shit. But some people think higher than that, man. Some people like, look, I'm the doctor, I'm the lawyer, I got money, I drive a nice car, I live in a nice house, motherfucker, but I got the body too. I got the whole fucking package here. I'm not just somebody with money who look good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people like that who got money, they naturally pretty, like women who naturally pretty, real pretty. They got a nice job, got a nice car, you know, something like what I'm driving in now. You know, certified luxury automobile, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, or something like that. They travel all around the world, but they body look like shit. See, to me, I think higher than that. To me, I'm like, all right, I'm out here competing with motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? If you single, I'm like, dude, you know, it ain't even got nothing to do with just dating. It's just in general, man. You got to think. If you think highly of yourself, if you think of yourself as supreme, your body gonna be on point, man. You ain't just gonna settle for you having money or driving a Mercedes or whatever and thinking you fly. Like you fly, you know, you got the money, you travel, you do all that, but we talking about having everything, man, the body too. That's who the podcast is for. That's the whole point of this, you watching this video, is to do a rehash of my audio podcast. You know, which I don't have a video for. So I'm doing a rehash of that. You know, so some people think higher of themselves, man. Some people like, man, I'm the person who got the nice ass body, the nice ass car, the nice ass income, the nice ass credit, the nice ass travel game, the nice ass husband or wife, the kids, you know, like some people think higher, man. So I was explaining that too in my podcast. Like, you got to think highly of yourself, man. You know, to be able to go in that gym and create the body that you want, you got to think supreme. You got to be on a goddamn damn near narcissist, damn near. A gym narcissist, not like, you know, in relationships. I talked about that too in the podcast. Man, I really broke that shit down in my podcast. Actually, I'm having a link in the description below too about that. How you got to become a gym narcissist, man, to really take your body to the next level. Now, a lot of my podcast is really intense, man. It's really, you know, I talk a lot of shit on the podcast. You know, I'm really intense about it. It's because I live this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? I done seen my body go from somewhere, a place that I didn't, a place that, to a place where it is right now. You know, where I always wanted it to be, man. You know what I'm saying? So I talk really intense on my podcast, man, you know, and so some people say I'm judging. Some people say it's really intense, but I'm like, motherfucker, if you live in this shit and you know what the fuck you talking about is real, you know what I'm saying? Like, I done seen this shit work. I ain't talking from goddamn theory. You see my pictures. I mean, my shit is on point, dude. And it's only gonna look better. You know, so some people want to listen to people like that. People who got the goddamn result. You know? And that's me. That's why I talk the way I do on my podcast, man. This shit is kind of intense, you know? So be prepared, because this is just a rehash, man, of my very first podcast. A video, you know, rehash of that. So I appreciate you guys listening in, man. I ain't going to hold you for long. This is Al, Elegant Body Magic, Get On Boss podcast. Rehash of my very first podcast. The link is in the description below. Okay. So where you can check the actual podcast audio, you know. And this podcast was actually inspired by somebody I used to know. I just tell you this guy where it actually came from. The Elegant Body Magic brand actually was started in 2017. You know, I just call it elegant because, you know, I want to cater to people with a higher mindset. Like I'm talking about, having a supreme mindset. That's why I call it elegant. And I aspire to attract people who, like I've been doing, because I've been attracting people who, you know, on higher levels of income, listen to my podcast, which is kind of weird. You know, Maserati, you know, higher income people, you know. But that's the way that was my intention, you know. So that's why I call it Elegant Body Magic. And I think it's a little bit of magic because, you know, with the mindset training that I talk to people about, if they think a certain way and I show you exactly how to do that, then I feel like you can have what people will consider a magical result, even though you put in the fucking work. But I think you can have like a magical result, you know, in the gym by following my mindset methods. It's a fact. So, so that's why I called it that, man. But it was inspired by somebody I used to know. You know, basically I was out there talking shit about. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. You know, I'm gonna be a little vulnerable, man. You know, I was just talking shit about people in the past. You know, because I was looking so good, and just talking like, man, you know, people need to fucking, you know, get in the gym, look better, man. What's fucking wrong with these people? You know, how could you walk around looking like that? How could you get out of a Mercedes, living in a big ass house, you know, being successful, and you still single, and you don't want to turn your body up? Like, what kind of shit is that? Like, I was just saying all this stuff, and this person, I was dating her, you know, she was basically like, why don't you do something about it? I mean, like, why don't you be a solution to this problem that people have, you know, not seeing themselves a certain way. And to be honest with you, this person was that person herself. She was very pretty in the face, certified person, you know, but her body wasn't on point. And I was talking to her, because I wasn't that shallow. I'm not that shallow. I was looking past certain things. She wasn't fat, but she wasn't skinny either, you know. But, I'm not shallow, so I was talking to her, but she really inspired me to do this, you know what I'm saying? And I appreciate her for that, and I thank you for that. Uh, so that's where the podcast came from, guys. Uh, but I started training people. I've been training people since like 2015, though, you know. Just off and on, I'll be in the gym and people ask me like, could you train me? And then they'll pay me, $60 for a session or whatever. $120 for some sessions or whatever. So, and I showed them the workouts and everything. And what I noticed is that when people do the workouts and they don't have the mindset training, they really don't get the results that they want. It's fast. I've been seeing this happen time and time again. So that's why I talk about mindset a lot on this podcast. So this is just a video rehash, man. I ain't gonna hold you long. 16 minutes. I probably should have made it a lot shorter. I appreciate you sticking with me, man. So I'm gonna have a free ebook, some free materials for you guys. The first thing I'm gonna have for you is something called the General. I'm gonna have that as like a free download on my site that we still working on and creating. So you guys can understand what the General is. If you go back and listen to some of my podcasts, you'll know what the General is. But this is Al Elegant Body Magic Get on Boss podcast. I appreciate you guys listening in. And just remember that you're a champion because you choose to be. All right, be great.